Hi guys and girls, Mark here from SeaWild Earth. Some people also call me the Pixel Hobo. You'll notice I may have changed that recently because a few people here in Okinawa call me that. But anyway, let's get into it. Today I'm going to be asking you guys and girls to step out of your box when it comes to your understanding of flash photography. Even if you are just starting out in flash photography, this could be potentially the most important thing that I'm going to ask you to try and learn and to try and grasp. And when you think about it, it is actually quite simple. So let's get into it. Okay, so when we talk about flash photography, obviously we're using a flash on our cameras, and we are limited normally with regards to what is called the maximum synchronization speed of our camera. If you haven't seen it already, there is something, a project that I done earlier on, a video that I made a couple of weeks ago about high-speed sync. You may want to just check it out up there. At the base, just to take it down to basics, irrespective of your camera brand, it can only work, or the shutter can only work up to a certain speed and be effective in order to synchronize with a flash system, be that a speed light or be it something like this, a studio strobe. So you're limited by the speeds that you can synchronize your shots with. Now, even if you're using a system or a technique called high-speed sync, which is also covered in that video that I mentioned earlier on, again, you can only go up to a certain level of, or to a certain shutter speed, because you're limited by literally the shutter of your camera. But if we take a lesson in flash photography, you can see how that changes dramatically. Now, if I ask you to take a look at this image here and tell me what you think, or just try and consider what would be a shutter speed required in order to capture an image like that. Okay, so how would you feel if I told you that that shot was taken with my camera set at a shutter speed of 3 seconds? How? Okay, so let's say I've got a speed light set up on my camera and we're good to go. I want to take a photograph. I'm limited by the shutter speed on my camera in order to be able to synchronize that with the strobe. Now, let's just take that factor away from things at the moment. What I want you to do is think more about your speed light and about what happens when you illuminate a speed light or a strobe onto your subject. Now, let's say, for example, I'm the subject. Okay, now I'm going to try and do something here with the video, which might seem a little bit weird, but just bear with me. Hopefully it will reinforce the message that I'm trying to convey. Let's say, for example, we decide that we're going to go and flash our strobe. Okay, we take a photograph and flash goes off. Cool. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, that I'm going to photograph that event happening with a super high-speed camera. Okay, and what's going to happen is that the video is going to be being filmed, and then all of a sudden, at the point of illumination of the strobe, you're going to get that massive amount of light hitting your subject. It's going to stay illuminated for a period. Then the end of that illumination point is going to come. It's going to extinguish, and then it will carry on. So if you go back to look at that period of when your subject is illuminated, that is a duration. And like any duration, whether it's a shutter speed, whether it's a video, a film, or whatever, there is a duration and a speed associated with that. That event occupies a certain amount of time, and that time can be measured in speed. Now, if, let's say, for example, that speed light, you've got it, and I'm talking in a manual mode here, the speed light can be powered at different powers. It doesn't always have to be set at one full power. Now, you can take any strobe or any speed light. Once you've got it set in manual mode, you can then just manipulate it in order to be set at full power, half power, quarter power, eighth power, 16th power, so on and so forth. Now, on most speed lights, you're looking at a lowest power setting of about 1/128, so 128th power setting. This particular strobe that I use, the FJ400, it allows me to go one step further and half that again to 1/256th power, okay, which is crazy. But therein lies half of your key, your solution, and it is actually quite simple. Okay, so as I mentioned just now, that if you fire your strobe or your speed light at full power, it has that illumination time. Now, if you were to convert that and to make it an equivalent to a shutter speed, a speed light firing on full power, that duration of light is equal to about 1/750th of a second, 1/750th of a second. Okay. Now, if you were to cut that illumination or that power in half, that illumination time is going to be cut in half. So in fact, you're speeding up the amount of time that it is that illumination happens. Okay, it occupies less time, so it's much faster. So at half power on a speed light, you're looking at a equivalent shutter speed of about 1/1400th of a second, and so on and so forth. Now, bearing in mind, just now I said that my camera shutter speed has a maximum shutter speed of 1/8000th of a second. If I turn a speed light down to a power setting of 1/16th power, that pulse of light is equal, and it occupies a period of time equal to a shutter speed of 1/10,000th of a second, which, as you can see already on 1/16th power, that has already surpassed the ability of my mechanical shutter on my camera. Okay, so here is a task I'm going to set to you guys and girls, and what I will say right now is that if any of you do this, okay, and you decide to take on board the lesson that I'm about to ask you to do, I will ask you to send a link in the comments to this film, to this video. Send me a link to the images that you take, and I will take some or all of those images, and I'll create a video where I go through those and give you a little bit of critique, show the world the images that you took using this technique. Now, you may even be just a beginner photographer, but I can almost guarantee that if you do what I tell you now correctly, you should be able to create some pretty awesome imagery. Okay, I'm going to ask you to set up a camera on a tripod and a strobe on a tripod, or a flashlight can just be straight on your camera. All right, what I want you to do is on your camera set f/16, ISO 100, and a shutter speed of 5 seconds. Now make sure that the room that you're sat in is completely dark. Take a shot and you will see that there is absolutely nothing gets registered as a photograph, because the camera quite simply cannot see anything with those settings set in a dark room. Okay, what I'm going to say now is turn all the lights on, put something in front of your camera, get it all focused, all well and good. You're in manual focus, set the focus and leave it. Okay, turn all the lights out. Now what I'm going to suggest is that when you take your photograph this time, you've got a 5-second shutter on your camera. At any point during that 5 seconds, manually fire your strobe. So just hit the little test button, manually fire the strobe. If you can do that remotely with a trigger, please go ahead and do that also. Like this one here, I have the test button on my trigger, boom, I can set it off. So if you have the ability to do that, just do that, so much easier. Okay, and what I am telling you now, what will happen is you're firing a flash at 1/16th power. Okay, so equivalent to 1/10,000th of a shutter speed, 1/10,000th of a second shutter speed. Because your camera isn't recording anything, because the settings won't allow it to in that darkened room, it's only going to record what it sees in that period of illumination. So forget about your camera shutter and think about the shutter that you've just created, the shutter of light, okay, created by your speed light, equivalent to 1/10,000th of a second. And your camera will record that image, and it will be as if it has trapped something or taken a photograph at the equivalent 1/10,000th of a second. Okay, so that is how I accomplished that particular shot. It took me forever because I was sat in the dark, and I had this thing, I didn't have any laser beams or anything set up, and it was on a tablet that had just started dripping, and it was a regular cadence, and just eventually after about 500 shots of just sitting there hitting the shutter button and trying to hit that the strobe to coincide with the shot, that I did actually get it. And that's a story of how I got that shot. But anyway, please do take on board that exercise, do that, and like I said, respond to this video with your results, and I will put them up on either the next video or the one after that, and hopefully share those images with the world and give you kudos where is well deserved, I'm sure. So that's all there is for now, folks. It's just it was just a quick video for today. I was looking through some images and I saw that one and I thought, oh, maybe the guys and girls would like to know how I shot that. So please do feel free to go out and shoot your own and share with me the results. Stay happy, stay safe, stay sane if possible, and get out there and get some shoot some magic. I will catch up with you very soon. Take care. All the best.